Now, we go to the NFC North.
Yep.
And to be fair, let's start with the division winners, the Minnesota Vikings, who their season has taken the turn for the worst yesterday with Teddy Bridgewater just with a very, very gruesome injury. He has been
Apparently was life-threatening.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded like he had to be rushed to the hospital. But he's out for the 2016 season. Their backup quarterback's Sean Hill. I don't think that's going to be their backup or I don't think that's going to be their starting quarterback week one. So I have to ask the question to you, who do you think they should go get?
If they're going to go get somebody, I mean, the way that Mike Zimmer is, you can take Colin Kaepernick out of the equation. I don't think he's going to go get a guy who's trying to grab headlines, who's creating controversy the way that he is. I do not see that. Mike Zimmer is not that kind of person. Maybe a Mark Sanchez.
Yeah.
If Sam Bradford loses out to Chase Daniel, I think you could maybe see them going to get Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford's only under a 2-year contract, so I mean, at worst, he starts all of this year, and they have him next year to just kind of be their backup. If Bridgewater isn't able to be back in 12 months, we really don't know at this point.
You're exactly, yeah.
So Sam Bradford could be an answer there. I was thinking about that today. I mean, Chicago has Brian Hoyer. I mean, the chances of that being same division, plus Chicago does need a backup, not happening. A lot of people are really there's a lot of buzz about Brett Hundley, but again,
no.
Same division, same
That's funny.
Not going to happen. But yeah, I mean, right now I would have to say probably the top 2 names that come to mind would be Mark Sanchez or Sam Bradford.
I'll throw out 2 other names: Josh McCown,
I did
Cleveland,
see that one.
and I think another choice maybe is Chad Henne.
Okay.
Jackson.
I want you to put the squash on this one for me. No Peyton Manning, right? No Peyton Manning.
No Peyton Manning.
No Brett Favre.
No Brett. I saw a fake headline today that Brett Favre was coming out of retirement. Some of my very gullible Facebook friends believed it. So.
Of course they did.
Yep. So yeah. No Peyton Manning. No Brett Favre. Maybe go out and get Donovan McNabb back. No, I'm joking about that.
Yeah.
It's and I agree with the Mark Sanchez. I think he could be a okay fill-in, but this really changes things for the Vikings. I think. But let's remember though, they made the playoffs with Christian Ponder.
Yeah, and I think the criticism about Mark Sanchez, I want to bring back the idea of, remember that he, in his first year and second year, played in straight AFC championship games for the New York Jets with a team that was built on playing defense and running the ball. Adrian Peterson and what I think could be a top 10 defense in the NFL. Mark Sanchez is a perfect fit for this team. And I think that they could still, as of right now, I think you hand Green Bay the division unless something, just catastrophic happens to, Rodgers gets hurt, or somehow magically we find needles in Julius Peppers and Clay Matthews' locker.
No, they were cleared. They were cleared.
I know,
it's done.
I know
it's done. It's all over with.
I know. That's why I was saying, unless they magically find needles in their lockers, this division's going to be Green Bay's. Minnesota's just trying to stay afloat and fight for a playoff spot at this point.
And that's a huge disappointment for Minnesota because they're starting to get the pieces together. They
have a new stadium they're trying to open.
Right. That week 2 is not going to be very exciting now. Because they're against the Packers. Week 2 is their home opener against the Packers. They revamped their offensive line. They got Andre Smith and the guy from the 49ers that I'm blanking out. Of course, I'm blanking terribly today. And their defense, I think, have some really good pieces. Everson Griffin, one of my favorite safeties, Harrison Smith. Sharif Floyd's very good. Linville Joseph.
Did you say what's his name? The linebackers. You have Kendricks.
Yeah.
And you have
Anthony Barr.
Yeah.
Shoot. Those are some possible all pros.
And you have Danielle Hunter, who in his rookie season, coming off the bench as a pass rusher, had 6 sacks last season as well.
Yep. I mean, those are some really solid pieces. And Adrian Peterson, I think he always has the potential to run for 2,000 yards. I'm not counting him out.
No doubt.
So I think I have them. I had them winning 10 games, but like Dallas, I'm taking 2 wins away from them. I have them going 8-8.
Yeah, I think with this, they're going to be second in the division. As I mentioned, taking us into our next team, which I want to give you extensive time to talk about. But I want you to the Green Bay Packers. I mean, I think are now obviously the foregone favorites of the division. And, just if you could, you went to training camp.
Yeah.
Just lay it all out there for us. I mean, everything
right.
we saw, everything that you know going into the season.
I want to start out by talking about Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers, 2-time MVP, Super Bowl champion, fantastic player. I'm going to say it right now. I think 2016 will be his best season in his entire career. 2011 was a great year for him. He won the Super Bowl in 2010. Then he won the MVP in 2014. I think this will be his best season ever. That includes going forward. 2016 will be remembered as the year of Aaron Rodgers. Now, whether that means he gets, 50-plus passing touchdowns or not, I'm not sure about that. I don't think that will be the case. I just think he will, be more accurate than ever. I think he's going to be having the best passer rating he's ever had before. I really look forward to watching him just really make a great culmination of what he's learned so far. And obviously you have to go to his receiving game. Jordy Nelson coming off of an injury. Now, he hasn't played so far in the preseason. That was really expected. Now, is he going to be the same Jordy as he was before? I'm not sure about that. It's hard for anybody to ever come off a torn ACL. But unlike a lot of other people, I'm big on the Packers receiving core. I love Randall Cobb. I think Cobb's a great player. Devontae Adams, he's my training camp MVP. I've seen him drop 1 pass so far, and that was in a preseason game. But in every practice, his hands, he's got to be wearing stickum or something, because he has been doing great. For the running back situation, Eddie Lacy has lost a little bit of weight. He's still a bigger back, but he has lost weight. Now there's talk of maybe he'll cut his hair because he was tackled by his dreads, but so far he has not cut his hair. I saw a picture of him today. Hasn't cut his hair yet. And then defense. I think the defense starts with Clay Matthews and Julius Peppers. Clay is going to be their outside linebacker this year. Or he's going back to outside linebacker, and I think that's good. I think him rushing the passer is what we want him to do, because we did not get many sacks last year. But I think the most exciting part about the Packers defense is their defensive backs. I think Clinton Dix will finally make his first Pro Bowl. He should have been in the Pro Bowl before, but he'll make it this year. Sam Shields is a shutdown corner. He's going to be on an island a lot this year. Morgan Burnett and Micah Hyde, 2 very good safeties. Since they have 3 very good safeties, almost, I think, 75% of the time I'm going to say they're going to be in a nickel or a dime. And that's what they've been in. And going back to offense, because I got to talk about Jared Cook. Really their first free agent pickup since Julius Peppers. I think he could have a very big season because their new tight ends coach is coming from the Cleveland Browns. and he was a guy that revamped the career of Jordan Cameron and Gary Barnidge. Wait, before this year, Gary Barnidge was a special teams guy. That was it. And now, at 30 years old, he was in the Pro Bowl. So I think that's really going to help out Jared Cook. I have really high hopes for the Packers because all that I said, plus they have the easiest schedule in the NFL. I have them winning for 14 games.
Yeah, I think for me, the one thing is that a lot of people criticized Davante Adams heavily for last season's play, but I want people to understand.
And they should have.
Right. I'm not saying that he wasn't what people said they were, but I think when you look at Green Bay's offense and when you look at the way that they do things, losing Nelson threw everything off more than I think people anticipated, solely because when you look at how Green Bay develops their offense and runs their routes, Jordy Nelson is running everything deeper than 15 yards.
Yeah.
Davante Adams is running 10 to 15 intermediate routes.
That's a very good point.
Guy, and Cobb is the underneath guy who just gets the targets, put the ball in his hands, and let him make a play.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say that either one of those guys won't go deep, because they can, but that's just the way that it is, and they balance each other very, very well. A funny story, just because I heard what you're talking about with the DBs. So this summer, by a Packer fan, I was asked who is the most overhyped player on the Packers roster as being good that isn't very good, and the response that I got from Packer fans was Sam Shields.
As far as overhyped,
in terms of, a lot of people think that Sam Shields, like Packer fans, believe that Sam Shields is just incredible, and he's just this great number one corner. And he's just so good. I
think he is a number one corner. I think mostly because he plays man to man. That's not something Casey Hayward does. Demarius Randall doesn't do it well either. Demarius Randall's in the slot. So I think Sam Shields is valuable in that way. But he's not a top 10 corner. Maybe not even top 15. I understand that. But seeing him play against a guy like Calvin Johnson and seeing him sometimes winning against him, that says a lot about him. As far as the most overhyped Packer, I would say David Bakhtiari, their left tackle.
Okay. See, to me, I think it's Bulaga. I am not a Bulaga fan. Now, does he play well when he's in? Yeah. But the best ability is availability. And when he's only played in 50% of his career games, I mean, to me, I wouldn't have re-signed him to the contract at Green Bay.
I think at that point they needed to.
Okay.
Because I think that year in the draft, they had a lot of needs, and that the big need was cornerback, and they went out and got Demarius Randall and solved that need. I will say this, though. Yeah, go ahead.
I will give you credit. The guy that I think is going to be an absolute stud, who could be one of the future top 5 to 10 left tackles in this
is Jason Spriggs.
And
I agree with you. He's been fantastic this preseason. He won't be a starter this year, but next year I have him penciled in as a starting left tackle. Whether that's they get rid of Bulaga or they get rid of Bakhtiari, but he'll be the left tackle next year.
Yeah, I can completely.
So how many wins?
I'll say 12 to 14.
That's very 12 wins and 14 wins when it comes down to that.
Well, they have the easiest schedule, but I mean, with football, you just never know. You never know. I mean, like, what was it? Green Bay had how many years where they never lost to Detroit? and then all of a sudden they lose to Detroit. You know, and
Right.
you just never know.
Right.
That's why it's so hard for me to say. Well, I think they're going to win specifically 13 games. Like it's just you know. So to say 12 to 14, yeah, it's a big difference. But to me, they're going to be one of the top 2 seeds in the NFC, and they're going to win the division. I mean, that's about as
their toughest. Their toughest opponent is Seattle. So, and after that, it's probably Atlanta. So.
And I mean, we know how Green Bay does against Seattle. So, but I mean, that's just
pretty good. They won last season.
And they've lost the 2 times before that? Wasn't it the opening? The season
don't
opening
even bring up the Fail Mary game. They won that game. So that's
not the one I'm talking about, is it? The one that opened up the season after Seattle won the Super Bowl, where Rodgers refused to throw to Jordy Nelson.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah, and then they lost to him in the playoffs with the special teams play.
Yeah.
Before they beat him last year.
Right.
So I'm just saying, Seattle has had Green Bay's number. I don't even consider the Fail Mary an actual. No, okay. I don't count that. That's atrocious.
But
how dare you think of?
All right. Okay. Let's move on to Chicago. Bears. With everyone's favorite quarterback, and I'm gonna let you start off this. You gave me a big moment. You can have yours now.
Yeah, I mean the Chicago Bears, I think are an improving team. They're not quite there yet, but I am a big fan of Ryan Pace and John Fox and what they've been able to put together. You know, last year was the first year with everybody, and I thought the season was better. It wasn't good, but it was better than it was with Mark Trestman. I mean, you could only go up from what you got out of Mark Trestman, and just the way that they were able to compete at a higher level, the way that the games were a little bit closer. They got some wins that maybe they shouldn't have, but they also lost some games that they should have won. I mean, that's just the process of the learning. Offensive coordinator for Jake Cutler. How does he respond to this? I mean, we've seen in the past when he's getting coach after coach after coach after coach that he struggles. But last year he played really, really well under Adam Gase, and Logan's was in the system. He was the quarterback coach last year, and he's now promoted to the offense coordinator. So, I mean, it's a familiar face, and Logan's has already said he doesn't plan on changing too much of the offense to try to keep it simple and keep things going in the right direction for Jake Cutler. I'm not sold at all on this wide receiving core. Alshon Jeffrey is always hurt. They wanted to sign him to a huge contract, which I was totally against. For me, if you go big money but short-term years, I'm okay. But he's always hurt. And from day one, I've never been sold on Kevin White. I don't see it in him. I think he's really, really raw, and missing last season does not help. He's now 2 years behind instead of kind of developing last year and moving forward. Also, I don't get the Zach Miller thing. 31 years old.
I don't get it either.
He finally figures out how to play football after, 9 years in the NFL, and they just decide that they want to give him a big contract? Like, come on. I mean, that to me was just a blunder in itself. And now getting rid of Slauson looks completely stupid because you just lost Grasu for the entire season with a torn ACL. And now you're trying to put your offensive line together. And Slauson was a huge piece for the Bears. I think defensively, you're going to see a huge improvement with Danny Trevathan and Jarrell Freeman in the middle as the 2 inside linebackers. Yeah. I think you're going to see a big improvement there. I really like what Eddie Goldman brought to the table last year. It was really good as a pressure nose tackle. Fuller needs to get his act together. I am a big fan of Adrian Amos at the safety spot. I think he has a really bright future in the league as a future Pro Bowl safety. He plays more so down on the line of scrimmage versus being a cover guy. And they got some really good rookies in the Hall kid from Northern Iowa, who they're really, really high on at corner. And I was not sold on the pick of Floyd. And then I watched him play in preseason, and
I told you, he's good.
it's not. I'm not sold yet because, like I said before, I mean preseason is guys fighting for jobs. I want to see him up against a top tier tackle, which he's likely going to face, throughout the regular season. But man, this kid is fast. He's strong. He's big, and he's athletic. And when you can put those four things together, I mean, the potential is endless. So I will say that. I mean, the kid, the sky is the ceiling for this kid. He's got the chance to be really, really good. And if John Fox can do anything similar with him that he was able to do with Von Miller, the Bears are going to come out ahead. And I'm going to look like an idiot because I did not like this pick at all when they made this pick, a couple of months ago.
I will say this about their defense. The transition from 4-3 to 3-4 can often take a really long time, but they're starting to figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
The picks with Trevathan and Freeman, that was huge. That was big time because they didn't have anybody at inside linebacker. They were considering starting Shea McClellan. That's not he's not an inside linebacker.
Right, exactly. And the thing is like both of those guys, it wasn't like they went out and said, hey, Danny Trevathan, we're going to give you 4 years, $60 million.
No,
at whatever it was, and $15 million a year. They were able to get him at, I think, $7 million a year.
It wasn't
that is
much.
A steal for the starting linebacker of the team that just won the Super Bowl,
right,
and a guy who led the team in tackles for like the last 2 or 3 years.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that Ryan Pace has done a good job putting this team together. And I have my fingers crossed, and I have a wooden TV tray next to me.
Okay.
That John Fox, everywhere he has gone to the Super Bowl. So I trust John Fox.
That's a good stat right there. Good pull.
And I believe in what they're doing. We just need to continue to see this rebuild out, and I think in another year or two, we're much like we're talking about the Oakland Raiders right now and the Jacksonville Jaguars, we're going to be having the same conversation about the Chicago Bears.
I agree with you with all that, except for one thing. In order to take the next step, they need a new quarterback. And
see, we made it to the NFC Championship game with Jay Cutler as our quarterback.
Yeah.
So now, could they make? I think that they shoulda, woulda, coulda, but could have beat Green Bay in that game to play in the Super Bowl against the Steelers. Now, winning the Super Bowl is something that's completely different.
Yeah.
But I think Jay Cutler is good enough to get Chicago to the Super Bowl.
Rex Grossman was.
Kyle Orton was the quarterback that year. They benched Kyle Orton for Rex Grossman in the Super Bowl game. Because Rex Grossman got hurt in the very first game of the year, missed the entire season. Kyle Orton was the starting quarterback. And then they benched Kyle Orton.
I was a big fan of Kyle Orton that year, actually. I was rooting for him.
Hey, Kyle Orton was decent in Chicago. He just couldn't get him over the hump. And then he wasn't bad in Denver either.
Right,
and
until
they just decided to wash him out for Timmy T.
Hey, Tebow won a playoff game. Let's not... And he's going to be hitting so many home runs, your head's going to spin.
In the independent league, not in Major League Baseball.
There were 28 teams in that tryout.
There was 28 games watching me throw the ball on the field the other day playing catch. I mean, it's one of those. No.
I'm saying there are 28 teams there. Chances are the Brewers were there. Let's get them on a uniform. Let's sell some tickets.
Where are you going to play them? The number one thing that they said was he doesn't have a strong arm, which means he's not going to play the outfield, and he can't be a catcher. So
put him at first base. Put him at first base.
They said he had decent pop and decent speed in his
Put him at first base. He won't move anywhere.
Can he field the baseball?
First base. Okay. I have the Bears winning 8 games this year.
With this injury to Bridgewater, I think Chicago has the chance to jump Minnesota. I don't want to say that they're for sure going to do it, but I think that they have a chance. If any year, this is the year that they could jump Minnesota, go back to being that number 2 team, and having it be Green Bay, Chicago, this year. But again, I mean, Chicago's had issues stopping Adrian Peterson in the past, and I don't see that changing.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna, for right now, I'm gonna put Minnesota and Chicago at a tie.
Okay. I have them at a tie. I mean, I have them both winning 8 games. So, yeah. Now the Detroit Lions. Crazy. It's crazy to think that 2 seasons ago they were in the playoffs. And
was it 2 seasons ago?
I think so. I'm pretty
They
sure.
played the Saints. Wasn't that like 4 years ago?
No, they made the playoffs under Caldwell.
Did they really?
Yeah. Yeah, and remember, they were gonna suspend Sue for the game, and then they didn't.
Was that against Green Bay?
It was so. It was the Week 17 game was against Green Bay. That was to win the division. Green Bay won, and that was when Sue stepped on his calf.
2014. They
Yeah.
went 11-5.
Yeah, crazy. And then 2015, everything just went wrong. Did go wrong.
And they still finished 7-9.
And that's crazy. But now their best player is gone, Calvin Johnson, and that changes a lot, I think, because now their number one receiver is Golden Tate, and there are a lot of people out there that will really like Golden Tate. I'm not one of them.
Neither.
No, they did get Anquan Bolden and Marvin Jones, but I mean, you can't replace Calvin Johnson.
Right.
So
At 6'4", 4'3", I mean, golden hands. It's
he he was the best receiver of his time.
Oh yeah, and I mean I think maybe every year he was in the league, he was the best receiver in that.
Yeah. I mean, and if you imagine if he had somebody better than Stafford throwing at him.
Yeah, and I mean, I think
Stafford's not a bad quarterback. I'm not saying
right.
that.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah,
let's
that's
say,
what I wanted to say.
let's say, you put him in, I don't know, put him in Pittsburgh with Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
I mean, he would have broken his own receiving record. But anyways, Detroit, this is gonna be a rough year for them. I have a feeling. I have them winning 2 games.
Okay.
Jim Caldwell he's gone, or he will be gone.
I mean,
Go
you
ahead.
can chalk him up for a win against Chicago. Chicago always blows a game against Detroit for whatever reason. I don't know, but when we play them at Detroit, we always find a way to lose that game.
Well, I think it's just because they're familiar with the teams. I mean, Packers always have a close game against Chicago, and more often than not, they split the series. So,
Right.
I think that's just the thing with facing division rivals. But really, the only bright spot for this team, to me, is Ziggy Ansah. I think Ziggy is a fantastic player, and he'll also be playing beside Haloti Ngata, who's not a bad player either. Not the guy we saw in Baltimore, but still a very good player. But Ziggy Ansah, I think, is a guy that could get close to 20 sacks if he wanted to. Yeah, what are your thoughts?
I mean, for me, I think the biggest thing that they lost. I mean, despite the despite what they're going to lose from Calvin Johnson, I mean, they're going to be bad. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, a wide receiver's job is to play catch the ball, catch the ball, catch the ball, and I think that they're going to suffer. But I think Detroit's. I think Ndamukong Suh is a bigger loss. I mean, when you think about that, I mean, that's a lot to say you're losing.
But they replaced him with Ngata.
Ngata, right. Now, we don't know how well Marvin Jones is going to play. Granted, it's hard to replace Calvin Johnson. But I think just with the culture that they had, granted all the things that were said and done or whatever by Sue, Sue just made things different. You know,
Yeah.
he just had a presence about him. He was a great player, you know, as a D tackle for them. And he just commanded so much attention that you just, on that defense, and I mean, their defense is really bad. That they just, I think that they just,
You don't think Raphael Bush is gonna make them better?
I think that Sue was the bigger blow. It's unfortunate Jim Caldwell's there because I really like Jim Caldwell.
I like him too.
You know, and how your offensive coordinator has the best name in football, Jim Bob Cooter.
Jim Bob Cooter.
You know, I mean, Detroit's in a world of hurt right now because they're going through the exact same thing that happened 16 years ago when Barry Sanders called and said, "Hey guys, yeah, I'm not coming."
And the same thing happened to him again. Crazy. Like it's deja vu for him.
It is.
Yeah. So I think we have it close. We said the Packers win the division, tie with Minnesota and Chicago, and Detroit at number 4.